What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Timeless Movie Podcast. My name is Victor Vazquez, and in this podcast, I will be just talking about movies that I have currently seen in theaters, maybe movies of the past that I have never seen, just trying to talk through those, give my general thoughts, and ask the important question that I'm really just asking myself: is this movie timeless? So just to kind of give you the general thoughts, on that question, what does that mean? So I had a discussion with my brother one time when we were talking about movies. We really enjoyed watching The Dark Knight. Dark Knight is one of our favorite movies, and a movie that, yes, spoilers, is timeless for me. And we had a discussion where, how come other movies can't be like this film, where you can spend 2.5 hours of your day to watch a movie that you've already seen before. I've seen The Dark Knight more than 20, 30 times maybe. And, how come not all movies can be like that? And so that's where me and my brother, came up with Dark Knight is timeless. It's one of those movies that no matter what period you're in, what kind of a mood you're in, if you just hear or think about a scene, you immediately think, you know what? I got to pop this movie in right now. I got to watch it. So that's kind of where the idea came from. And so I started thinking, how can a movie be timeless after a first viewing? Probably not. It's probably impossible. Some folks might need more than one viewing to determine, this movie is excellent. Other movies, it might just be right from the first get-go. Just like I mentioned in the story that I was describing with my brother, after I watched The Dark Knight for the first time, I fell in love with that film. I thought it was an awesome experience, and it became timeless for me. I can always watch that movie whenever I just have that mood of, I gotta pop this Blu-ray and watch The Dark Knight. Now, again, that's gonna be different for, every individual's gonna have a different experience watching a movie. It might come from the first viewing of it, but that's really what I want to go through in this specific podcast. It's just watch these movies that we're actually getting movies in theaters. Watch these new movies and say, okay, is this a timeless movie? Can I see myself spending the time to watch it again in the future, and kind of just going from there, as well as breaking down the movie and giving my thoughts. Now, just giving a warning to everybody, I am in no way a movie expert. I have not seen all of the great movies that have been in the past. I am not a movie buff. I am far from that. But I really just wanted to make this podcast to just talk about an experience that I enjoy doing, and that's watching movies. I enjoy going through and just watching a new film, following the story, and seeing how it's going to play out. So that's really the idea of this whole podcast, is just really to find a place to talk about those movies. And really, again, just to kind of interact with all you guys as well. If you guys ever want to comment, if you ever want to just talk about any specific movies, make sure to just put it in the comments box down below. Let's just jump into episode number 1 that we're currently in right now. This first episode is going to revolve around A Quiet Place 2. I just got to see it on Memorial Day. I hope everybody enjoyed the Memorial Day. Hopefully enjoying the short week as well. But I ended up getting to see the second part of A Quiet Place. Now, just to give you a heads up, for anybody listening, I had never seen the first movie. So what I did was I ended up watching it the Friday before Memorial Day. Watched the first movie, thought it was excellent. It got me hyped up for A Quiet Place 2. And so I jumped in with fresh eyes as well. So just having the first movie in my mind, now I'm immediately seeing the second part of it. So what were my general thoughts? Right off the bat, I thought this movie was really good. From beginning to end, it was so consistent with the first film. Spoiler alert to anybody that has not seen the first film, and spoilers as well for The Quiet Place 2 if you haven't seen it. So giving everybody a warning now, if you have not seen A Quiet Place or A Quiet Place 2, please leave now. That way I don't spoil anything for you guys as well. And I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it. Go check it out. All right, now that anybody that hasn't seen it has left, the first film just did a really good job with the ability to not have a lot of dialogue, but still make a film so intense and so suspenseful. And that was one of the worries that I had when I went into A Quiet Place 2. I was thinking, all right, well, at the end of the movie, they find a solution to deal with these creatures, these monsters. Use a high frequency. It ended up being the hearing aid of the character known as Reagan in the actual film. Her actual name, Millicent Simmons. she found a way that, okay, this frequency affects not only me in the film for the first part, but also these creatures that are trying to chase us down because of the sounds that we make. And so I was thinking, okay, now that they found a solution, would that mean that in The Quiet Place 2, we're going to have more dialogue? Are they going to start talking a lot more? What was going to happen to that kind of, that ability to make the movie feel like, you know what, you can't speak at all. It's quiet. And they kept that same consistency, and I loved it. I loved that there was not a lot of dialogue. I'm pretty sure they kept it to the same amount. There's probably a little bit more, but it was just such a great job by the filmmakers. John Krasinski, who did appear in the first scene of this film, but he also directed the movie. I thought it was an awesome job by that team to continue that same type of a flow in this film. Now, to me, again, like I mentioned earlier on in the intro of this episode, I am in no way an expert. So again, I could be saying something that's totally wrong. I'm pretty sure it is. But just to kind of give you a general sense of the theme of the movie, to me, it was really around the son and the daughter of Emily Blunt and John Krasinski. So it was Marcus and Reagan, the actors' names, Noah Jupe and Millicent Simmons. I want to give credit to them because they did an awesome job. But it was really around Marcus and Reagan, how they were going to grow and survive and continue without their father. So again, after the first film ended, John Krasinski's character, Lee, ended up getting killed by one of these creatures. And so he was not going to be a part of this second film. How were the kids going to try to move on and push forward without him? And so that was really what the concept of the movie, what I got from it, is how these young kids grew up by the end of the second movie, how they just completely now have pulled elements from their father to now grow up and evolve into their own persons as well. So I thought it was just a great job of how they developed both of those characters, and we'll probably get into it as we go along. I want to give you also a couple cliff notes of the film just to kind of have some type of structure to it, but the film just starts off with a great sequence. They show day one, what happened in this world that was created by A Quiet Place. You know, because if you remember, the first film started off with day 42 or 40 something. It was around that range. They never showed what happened when it first started. They just showed where, here you go, you're in the world now, get used to it. And so again, they did a great job where they showed the events of what happened on day one. And again, this is a great opportunity to bring back John Krasinski's character, Lee. So he was in this scene as well. They were actually all at a baseball game checking out Marcus, who was, again, at bat playing baseball. And so the family's all there. That's actually where we get to see Cillian Murphy's character as well, Emmett. We get to see him for the first time. He's going to be introduced in the film as well. They're all just enjoying the baseball game, and then that's where we see a glimpse of an asteroid or a meteor crashing into Earth. Now, we don't see it crash, but we see it coming into the atmosphere. So we assume that that is where these creatures came from. This sequence also shows the first encounter of the monster that appears in town. Lee and Reagan, both of those characters ended up getting stuck in a bar. They had to keep quiet because they didn't want to get caught by this monster. Then you have Marcus and you have Evelyn, who was Emily Blunt's character. Both of them in a car scene that was amazing. I was probably going to talk about that for my favorite scene of the movie. But it was just such a great job by the filmmakers to make that scene to kind of show, okay, what really happened on that first day? You know, how did they react to the first monster and who was there? And in reality, it was the entire town noticing this monster and creature that was going to be terrorizing them now in their new world. Once the sequence ends, it immediately follows with the family now in present day in this new world, leaving their home since it was destroyed by the monsters at the end of the first Quiet Place. The family decides to head out to another specific area that's close by their home. How they decide to go there is, if you remember, in the first Quiet Place, Lee would always go to a water tower and light up a fire, and he would see other areas where they would light fires. Again, we would assume that those were other, civilizations, or not even, civilizations, but really families that were trying to survive. Just kind of giving a heads up like, hey, we're still here. When they turn on the fire in the second movie, there's only one fire that appears. And so that's where the family immediately starts heading towards. That's where we get our first glimpse and we get introduced to Cillian Murphy's character, Emmett. He is there in a factory. It seems like he is there all by himself. And, they get introduced to the family, but Cillian Murphy's character immediately tells them that they are not going to be able to stay there. Rations, there's just not enough of them. And they're not going to be able to survive if they stay in that factory with Cillian Murphy. Even after Evelyn starts showing him that they have a newborn baby, it's just way too tough of a situation. One thing that does get revealed, though, in this scene is that in a specific situation where we have Marcus on the bed, he is listening to the radio, and he immediately hears a song being played. This is the first song that they have probably heard in over a year on the radio, and they're blown away. Emmett, on the other hand, says, oh, this song has been playing for months. It doesn't mean anything. It can't mean anything. There's no way that a song being played means that, a secret message. But it's exactly the opposite. The family figures out, or really, Reagan and Marcus figure out that this might be a secret code, a message, maybe alerting individuals that, hey, look beyond the sea. That was what the name of the song was, actually, or the chorus that was playing, beyond the sea. And that's exactly what happened. If you looked beyond the sea on a map that they had, there was an island off the coast of wherever state that they're currently in or living in. And that's exactly what Reagan does. She was very stubborn. She wanted to continue the legacy of what her father was trying to find, and that's exactly what he was trying to find. A new place to survive and to actually live peacefully. And so she went on to try to find a boat to make it to this island. Cillian Murphy's character ends up following her. They go through trials and tribulations, various challenges. You'll see that as you go through the film. I'm not going to go through every single part, but again, they encounter these monsters, of course, trying to hunt them down. And then there's a scene where they actually end up getting caught by these ravagers or these savages, human beings themselves, but they get caught and they seem like they're going to take Reagan away. And then all of a sudden, Cillian Murphy's character tries to save her by making a lot of noise, and making a lot of noise obviously causes all these creatures to come to the dock where they're currently at, and these monsters start killing all these savages that were trying to take Reagan and Cillian Murphy's character. But we also find out something very interesting in that these monsters cannot swim, because we actually see one of those monsters try to jump into the water, and then it immediately just starts drowning and dies. So we see, okay, if there is this island, this is probably the perfect place to live. This is where a civilization can live, because now you have a place where no creature can actually get to. So after Emmett and Reagan's characters survive this attack by these humans that are savages, they get a boat and they end up going towards the island. They find it, they go onto the shore, and they see that there's actual civilization having fun. They're actually having a campfire on the island. And so that's where they end up actually meeting Jimon, the actor, who actually doesn't have a name in the film, but it's Jimon Hunsu. He comes out in different films. I think it's Blood Diamond. He also came out in Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel, all those stuff. He's a great actor. He is, I guess, the leader on this specific island, and he's actually the one that runs the radio station and plays the song Beyond the Sea. So it was a secret message. He was trying to get more people to come to the island if they want to survive. And that's where, again, they find out that, you know what? We need to use this radio station to play the frequency. That way, if there are any monsters out in the mainland, folks can just use the radio, blast it at full volume, and have this frequency attack the monsters. But, as you would expect, that is not how the movie's going to end. As they are trying to wrap their heads around now being on a specific island, you now see that there's a boat that ends up coming to shore. It is not the boat that Cillian Murphy's character Emmett or Reagan came on. It's actually a boat that they saw at the dock, and it had markings of a creature. As you would expect, one of the creatures was on the boat. And so now the island was not safe because it is being terrorized by a creature that came from a boat on the mainland. And that creature now starts attacking all the folk that are living in the island. Cillian Murphy's character tries to tell everybody to stay inside, to go inside, but he is too late. It starts chopping down people. And now Jimon's character, since he doesn't have a name on it, meets up with Emmett and Reagan, and he immediately drives them to the radio station so that they can do their plan of using the frequency to their advantage. And so they go up to the radio station. Jamon gives them the keys to open it, and as soon as he tosses the keys, he gets brought down by a monster and taken away. So we can assume that he is now gone and passed away because one of the creatures just took him down for making too much noise. Emmett and Reagan are able to get the keys and open the radio station. They find their way in. Now they're just trying to find the actual room where the record is being played. But as you would expect, the monster has found a way inside the radio station as well. So they try to find the room, trying to be as quiet as possible, where now Reagan has found the microphone. She's about to get it, but then there's a noise that gets played. The monster discovers where they are, so Emmett jumps in front, and he gets taken down. I think his leg gets, poked right through by one of the claws of the creature. So he is down. He thinks, or at least I thought, he was going to get sacrificed himself so that Reagan can actually play the frequency. But as soon as the creature gets closer, the frequency starts playing, and you see that Reagan actually pins the hearing aid right up against the microphone, and now she is broadcasting that frequency wherever those signals are getting played at radio stations or radios themselves. It is now playing that frequency. And just like the end of the first film, Reagan now uses the frequency to try to back up the monster. She gets a metal pipe, and she just beats the head of the creature and gets her first kill of one of these monsters. And that's how the film ends. Again, just cliff notes, giving everybody the recap of how it all played out. But it was such a great film from beginning to end. It kept you, again, on the edge of your seat, just trying to figure out, okay, what goes on now from here? How do you provide the help that Reagan was able to figure out? Where do you give that information off? And they ended up finding it, but again, at a cost. So, such a great movie. I had a lot of fun watching it. And again, that was my first movie back at the theaters. And it was just such a good feeling to see this suspenseful movie. I wanted to jump into one of my favorite actors or actresses that I really liked. First off, I want to give credit to every actor and actress in the movie. They did such a good job, all the way from John Krasinski's character to Emily Blunt's character. But I gotta give my props to Noah Jude. He played Marcus, the son of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt's characters. Every scene he was in, he had so much fear in his eyes. You could just see that he was terrified. You would believe it. At least I did. Again, I'm not an acting, coach. I'm not an acting expert. I don't know how to act. But to me, every scene he was in, I could just see it in his eyes, the facial reactions that he was making. It looked like he was in pain, nervous, frightened, all in one. It was just awesome. There was a specific scene where his foot gets caught in a bear trap. And man, oh man, he screamed like crazy. Now, you would think, okay, well, screaming, nothing special about that. But the way he did it, where even after Evelyn, his mother, tried to cover up his mouth, he was just through his eyes, just screaming at the top of his lungs. He didn't care that if there was monsters that were going to hear him because of how much pain he was in that specific scene. Awesome performance. I loved it. Noah Jude, you killed him, my man. Every scene. I told my brother, my sister, and my girlfriend, who also watched the movie with me, I thought he just did so good, where anytime he came out, I just had a great time just seeing his nonverbal communication. It was just so spot on. All right, I also wanted to go through my favorite scene of the entire film. I actually have two different ones. My first one, I actually spoiled it at the beginning. It was the first sequence of the movie. Again, you get to see day one. What happened? What did the family go through? You get to see, again, what their reactions were when they saw their first monster. What was the town like? How it looks so peaceful at the beginning, and then just now you see what's currently happening. And you know that, we'll probably never get back to this peacefulness as well. So I thought that was a great scene, because there was also a sequence where you have Evelyn and Marcus in the car, and they are trying to drive away, and there's a bus coming right at them. And inside the bus, there is the monster that probably just took out the bus driver. And you could just see that there, from the perspective of Marcus, he's in the back seat and the camera is just right there. You could just feel the suspense. It just got me so hyped up, and it got me in the right mindset to watch this movie. So such a great sequence as well. My second favorite scene was actually the end of the movie, the last part. It's where I got the sense or the theme of the movie is how the kid's legacy was going to now grow without their father Lee, because both of them, and there's such great camera work where at the end, like I was mentioning in the recap, you see Reagan use the frequency to her advantage again. She is blasting it all the way up to try to distract and hurt this monster. And at the same time, Evelyn and Marcus are getting attacked by another monster as well. And this is again where you see Marcus grow up. Before, he was very nervous. He didn't want to go into the woods. He never wanted to be left alone. And now he is at a point where he has to protect his mother and his new brother. What other choice does he have? He has no other choice. But he's also listening to the radio, and that's where he hears the frequency. And immediately it clicks for him. I have to use this to my advantage. And he immediately raises the volume, goes to the direction of the monster. The monster starts feeling the effects of the frequency. He gets the gun that his mother had, and he shoots and he kills his first monster at the same time that Reagan, his sister, also kills her first monster. But they shot it so well where they would just interchange between the two, and the music was so good in that one as well. They first showed a clip of Reagan, then they showed a clip of Marcus, then they would go back and forth until they both killed the monsters. It was a great scene. And again, it shows the development of these characters, how at the beginning of the first movie, The Quiet Place, they relied so much on their parents. And now, at the end of this one, it seems like they're growing up now. Now they're a new version of their father in a sense, in that they're probably a better versions now because now they know a little bit more. And now they can take this on and pass that information and knowledge to other individuals as well. So great scenes overall. I really enjoyed those action scenes as well. In regards to the music or the sound of the movie, I don't think there's anything in the music that really stood out to me. Not saying that it wasn't good. Again, I thought it was the sound design really of the film is what really got me to get excited for the movie. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm really glad that they kept the same consistency in regards to very little dialogue, but also highlighting the sound of nature and the sound of wildlife. I really enjoyed that portion of the first movie, and they kept that going in the second movie. Again, just great job in making sure that everything is consistent between the two films. So anytime they would be walking in the wild or just walking around nature, you could hear all of those specific steps that they would take. You would see specific scenes where there might not be sand, so now you would hear every footstep a little bit louder and a little bit louder. And so just an awesome job to keep that going in this second film, because I just thought it elevated it to the same level that was the first movie as well. All right, so there's two more questions that I want to answer on this episode of the Timeless Movie Podcast. First one is, would I watch it again? I would definitely watch this movie again. I really enjoyed the story from beginning to end. The emotions that the family goes through, for me, it's very interesting to watch. Now, to throw a little caveat in that is that I wouldn't just watch it, willy-nilly, just, okay, I'm going to pop this one in. I feel like I would have to watch the first film, then I would watch the second one, just to get me a little bit more hyped to watch it again. But like I keep mentioning, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, both of these films seem like they're just so interconnected and so seamless that you can watch them, back to back. Would I recommend that? Probably not. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'd probably get a break first. I'd maybe watch it on a Friday, then maybe watch the second part on a Saturday. But again, I feel like both of these two films just are definitely rewatchable. This then leads me to the last question, which is really the title of the podcast. Is this movie timeless? For me, I definitely consider this movie timeless. Just like I did the first one. I wouldn't mind spending time to rewatch these. The type of movie that it is, not a lot of dialogue, but the story just flows so well that you're always kind of moving to a different type of location. You're always feeling that intensity that the family needs to survive. So in my opinion, I feel like this movie is a timeless movie, or it can be at least. Now, can my opinion change a year from now? Of course. Yeah. I mean, at the moment, I feel like the movie is very straightforward. It doesn't make you think that much, but it does have that suspense. And I think that that's, again, the effort that they put into this movie to just show you that, okay, you know what? We don't have to have a lot of dialogue or a lot of speaking or anything like that. our characters and our story and how we develop them can be what makes this movie timeless and what makes it such a joy to watch over and over again. So I definitely consider this movie a timeless one. But again, I can probably come back in 5 years, 10 years and be like, you know what? Maybe I was wrong, and I'm pretty sure I will be. But at the moment, I just want to give credit to everybody, all the filmmakers, anybody that, again, produced the film, all the actors. They did such a good job because Quiet Place 2 was a great film, and I, again, consider it to be, at the moment, a timeless movie. All right, everybody, that is it for what I wanted to talk about in regards to the film The Quiet Place 2. If you haven't gone to go see it, I hope you didn't listen to this podcast because I literally just spoiled everything. But if you did, feel free to comment down below. I really want to hear what you guys think. What were your guys' thoughts on the movie? What was your favorite scene? Is it, how about you? You guys, is this movie timeless for you after watching it one time? Do you need to watch it again to kind of make that decision? Let me know your thoughts. If you liked the video, please make sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. I'm hoping to put out more content as we get to see more films in the near future as well. Guys, my name is Victor Vazquez. This has been episode 1 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you guys next time on the next episode as we cover another movie that could be coming out in the near future. Thanks so much, guys.